Iftikhar, could you please take us through what Open Gateway and CAMARA really is?
Yes, good morning, Johan. Thanks for having me on this one. So just to set a general framework, the Open API is basically an idea of how to introduce network exposure in a very consistent manner across the industry. And that means the ability for operators to expose their internal data assets for commercial use by enterprises, i.e. building a new value chain and a new business opportunity for everyone in the ecosystem. Now, what this requires is that there is a high degree of consistency across operators in what they expose so that enterprises can actually build and scale in a scalable manner. So the way the industry has taken is they've gone through the GSMA, and where a principal set of initial operators and now a bigger critical mass of operators have worked together to identify what is the underlying concept, what are the underlying business drivers, what is the opportunity, and therefore what are the use cases. So that is where the initiative started under the Open Gateway API activity under the GSMA. Now, this was more, let's call it the use case and the requirements part of the activity. Then came the technical realization of it. And one of the ambitions here is to make this as an open effort. So it's not an industry specific or a vendor specific exercise. Because the ecosystem is very, very wide, then the intention here is to have it as open as possible. So what the GSMA decided is to actually initiate a project under the Linux Foundation, so i.e. an open project. The name of that project is CAMARA. And one of the initial ideas was the use cases that were defined under GSMA go into this working group under the Open Linux or into this project called CAMARA. And they would then lay out the specification of what the API would be, how it would actually work, what would be the call flows and things like that. So that is more of how a network exposure API would be implemented by operators towards the enterprises so that they get a consistent experience. So that is the part that we work on and did that. And then what has happened is that since CAMARA is a Linux foundation, more company, it basically is open to everyone in the ecosystem. Small companies, big companies, different industry sectors, segments. So everyone brings in their good ideas. And therefore you get a very good work. And then also the number of use cases can be added. So it's now not only the GSMA use cases, there are other use cases that groups within the CAMARA project have cooperated and coordinated and also laid out. So now there's a much richer set of use cases. So the last I saw, I think there were 75 operators plus a whole bunch of other companies, and there were almost in excess of more than 30 use cases in there. So just to give you an example, if you can, SIM swap is one of the more interesting use cases that started out early, which was defined. And what the CAMARA focuses on is how does the SIM swap API look from an enterprise or an enterprise application developer perspective. So what is it that you actually would implement in the enterprise stack or in the device stack that would allow you to use network resources? Now, interestingly, it is would like to draw a line is that these initiatives do not define how an operator will realize the underlying business logic when exposing this API. Here, there is relative freedom for every operator to pick and choose what strategy they need to attend or adopt in order to realize these APIs. At the end result is they will all show the same API towards the external world, but the underlying implementation may differ from operator to operator. And we'll get back into that a bit in more detail as we go through.